I would love to introduce Stephen Mack Jones as our keynote speaker and who wrote the foreword to our anthology this year.
Well, I'd like to begin by saying that I don't get out of the house much, so this is really new and wonderful to me to be with all of you here today. And first of all, I'd like to give a hand to all of the writers with us today. It's tremendous. It's quite an accomplishment. I'm going to switch glasses. It will not affect my personality, which some would say, that's unfortunate. And I've decided to read just half of the foreword that I wrote. Because I'll read half of it, but then I'll give you, the parents, the adults, the teens, the young ones that have entered this wonderful program, a little sage advice. And I can say it's sage advice because I am out of the house right now. Usually it's just called nagging and complaining. But my father lived a hard life. By the age of 12, he was driving a coal delivery truck, how most homes were heated in the 30s and 40s. To contribute money to the small house he shared with his 3 brothers, sister, and parents. All of my father's family worked, cleaning houses, factory, janitorial, in order to keep the lights on, the coal-burning furnace stoked in winter, and at least 2 meals a day at their small house on Hammond Street in Lansing, Michigan. He left school in the 10th grade so that he could work longer, harder for his family. And when war came to the world in 1940, my father joined the U.S. Army, where he faced bitter, hate-hardened adversaries at Fort Benning, Georgia, a place where the local population promised violence to any Negro seen wearing any uniform of the United States Armed Forces. I have a photo of my father wearing his Army dress uniform. He's laughing. He's laughing as if those threats meant nothing. He's laughing as if the bad juju of Southern white people meant little to him. After all, he had driven a truck and delivered tons of coal when he was 12 years old. That takes any childhood fear of boogeymen and monsters right out of you. But for all this hard, callous hand and bloody-knuckled life, he had 2 true and steadfast companions, my mother and books. Before a long 12-hour shift at the local Oldsmobile automotive factory in Lansing, he had a book in his hands. My mother at times had to remind him to put whatever book he was reading down long enough to eat. Begrudgingly, he would eat if only to store energy to get through the day or night shift. And he would return home exhausted, smelling like hot steel. He would again eat, if only to renew his energy for at least an hour's worth of reading before bed. What did this high school dropout read? Treasure Island and Pilgrim's Progress. Principles of Mechanical Engineering, and the poetry of Robert Frost and Langston Hughes, books on financial investment strategies and James Baldwin novels, and Shakespeare, always Shakespeare. I was 5 years old when my father came home smelling like the hot grinding gears of a giant machine, and he grabbed me up and pushed me into the front passenger seat of our rusting used car. "You're old enough to have one now," he said as he drove. One of what? I wondered. He seemed uncharacteristically happy for someone who just finished a 12-hour blue-collar factory job, so I didn't ask. I wanted him to be happy. I always wanted him to be happy, if only for a few minutes in a day, 1 week out of a year. We parked in front of the new Lansing Public Library, and he told me it was time for me to have my own library card. Seated in the car and staring at the new modern building, he told me the world he grew up in had been small and tough and short-sighted. But books, reading, had taken him to the pyramids of Egypt and the furthest reaches of outer space. Books had transported him to the long-disappeared Jewish villages of Russia, to the distant futures of Isaac Asimov and Ray Bradbury. Books had given him hope where once there was none, and promise where there was little. "I didn't have too much of a chance to be a kid and get an education," he said as we got out of the car and walked to the shiny new building across the street from a green space named Reuter Park. "I want to make sure you and your brother have both, and besides me and your mom, your education starts right here." Still wearing his dark blue, sweat-stained work clothes, my father stood me in front of the library's long, sleek circulation desk. A woman smiled at us and said, "May I help you?" My father gave me a slight nudge and said, "Tell the lady why you're here." Hesitantly, and in a small voice, I said, "I'd like to get my library card." My father nudged me again, prompting me to add, "Please?" The librarian's eyes widened, as did her smile. She spoke directly to me instead of my father, as if I was the most important person she'd met, at least on that particular late spring day. "Yes, sir," she said brightly. "Let's get you your very own library card, shall we? What do you like to read?" "Mostly books about space." "Oh," she said, "we have a lot of books about space, fiction and nonfiction. They say in several years we'll be able to fly people to the moon. And Mars," I added. She gave a gentle laugh. "Yes, and Mars." And that's half of the foreword. You can read the rest at your leisure. If you don't have any bathroom magazines. Let's see what this guy had to say. No, I really just wanted to stand here and congratulate and marvel at all of the writers in the room and the people that support them. Writing has been crazy and wonderful and so meaningful and surprising to me. I was in advertising and marketing communications as a profession for over 30 years. Sorry about that, pal. But I always wrote on my own. When I wasn't writing an ad for healthcare or computer software, or, hey, what kind of car do you drive? Oh, nice car. But what kind of oil do you use? Because motor oil is the life's blood of your car. Yes, guilty as charged. When I wasn't writing things like that, I was at home writing and practicing and trying to find my own voice. And that's something that all of you as writers are attempting to do. Some of you are struggling, that's fine. Some of you feel like you have found your voice. That's fine too. But as long as it's the voice that is speaking your truth. Because you're not writing for an audience. Believe it or not, you're not writing for an audience. You're not writing so that somebody can come up to you in Starbucks and say, hey, you're that writer. That doesn't happen. It just, I wish it did. I really wish it did. Yeah, I'll take a cappuccino. And your name? Steve. Okay, Steve, we'll meet you down at the other end. Steve? No, you're writing for yourself to find out what truths there are in you, how you see the world, how you feel your place is, what you feel your place is in the world. And believe it or not, there's someone out there who's not a writer who needs to hear what you've said, what you've written. Someone who needs to know that there is someone that understands them, someone that sees the world as they do. I wrote my first book, August Snow, just as a way of entertaining myself. I wasn't thinking about readers. Well, what do readers want to read? Well, since 5,000 books a month are published in the United States, who knows? I was writing to entertain and inform myself, to put down my thoughts on the world around us and the world near us. And it just so happened that somebody liked it. Somebody said, Steve, we're gonna pay you real money for this. Oh, go on, come on. Are you really? Yeah, I'm from Michigan, so it's like, yeah, sure. Yeah, you're gonna pay me real money, and oh, that is real. Just for speaking my truth. Just for the privilege of entertaining myself. And soon I discovered that I was reaching other people. I was just telling these folks that I started getting fan mail. And it's rare when I talk about fan mail because somebody being a fan of me, I can't put those things quite together. I'm still working on making my wife and kids fans of me. It's really. But I received an email from a gentleman who read the book in Australia. And he said, "Detroit's on my bucket list now, mate." It's like, wow. So, to all of the writers in here, keep writing, keep discovering your world and the world around you. Make it funny. Make me cry. Move me. Make me think. But most of all, move yourself. Discover yourself. Thank you very much. It's a privilege to be here. It is absolutely wonderful to be here. Libraries are magic kingdoms. There's all sorts of magic in these walls. Discover that magic. Take advantage of that magic. Transport yourself. Thank you very much, and wish me luck. One last thing I'll say is with the 3 books in the series so far, I didn't think anything about it. It was just me sitting in my smoking jacket. Yeah, okay, I see my wife looking at me. Sitting in my sweats, making things up. And the most recent development is I've signed an option with CBS Studios for the development of the series as either a film or television series on streaming. So, thank you. And I'm not saying that to brag, I'm saying you have no clue where the words that you're writing today will take you tomorrow. Thank you very much.
There we go. I'm quizzing you now.
Yes.
I promised him I would be nice in my quizzing. So KDL has, one of the things that we've been doing since we shut down in 2020 is we do a lot of virtual programs, and we've gotten really good at streaming. And thank you so much, Kevin and Remington, for doing this, because this is part of what makes this really awesome. But we've gotten really good at interviewing our authors, too, so you're not getting out of this.
All righty.
We have a room full of writers. They need some more inspiration. Tell us about your writing process. How has it changed over time?
To be honest with you, everyone heard the question, my writing process? I'm actually stalling on answering that question by asking you if you heard the question. Because in all honesty, my writing process is, if you gave a 2-year-old a crayon and told them to draw a straight line, my process would be like that. It would be all over the place. sometimes I try to write in a very linear fashion. Chapter 1, Chapter 2, oh, there's an idea for Chapter 17. Now let me get back to Chapter 4. Oh, and 25. This has to happen in Chapter 25. And before I know it, I have, 80,000 words all over the place. So my process really begins with editing. When you write your first draft, that's the art of writing. When you revise that, that's the craft. Get real good at the craft.
Good, thank you. Kind of like me, I'm all over the place. What inspires you? What motivates you? What gets you going every day?
My family. And reading the news, which I've kind of, cut back on, because I don't want to end up with ulcers. But yeah, just seeing what's happening in the world and feeling blessed that, I have a family that kind of likes me, sometimes feeds me, and just knowing that there are so many stories to be told. Stories that come out of hearing someone in the grocery store, overhearing somebody at CVS, reading a quote in a newspaper or a blog, things of that nature.
I like all those things. Grocery store conversations are really good.
Oh, they are.
Put your ears on.
They are.
So I mentioned that you're a Michigan Notable Book winner, not once, but twice. And as a good long-term librarian, I have to promote that because awesome, we love what our friends at the Library of Michigan do. Tell me what your response is to the Michigan Notable Book. What does that mean to you to be a twice winner?
It blows me away. There are no words for it. I'm honored. I'm humbled. I almost, in some ways, I kind of feel like, well, a little hokey, but my father passed away in 2003, and the times that this has happened, I feel like there's this pat on my shoulder saying, "Good job, boy." So the recognition is wonderful, but it's also gratitude.
Some of my best friends are on that committee.
I'll make sure to send flowers.
Last question. What are you reading now?
We were just talking about this. I just finished the fourth book in the series. It's at my publisher for editing now. So I'm kind of taking a breather. I read a adult mystery book, really wonderful, by author named Josh Stallings, called Tricky, and it has such a wonderful heart. Just an amazing heart. Also, we were talking about poetry. I find reading poetry between books kind of recharges me. It brings me back to the value of words, the heft, the gravitas, the color, the smell, the importance of individual words. And I love reading like Pablo Neruda and Octavio Paz, Spanish poets, and Seamus Heaney, an Irish poet that won the Nobel Prize for Literature. So poetry kind of brings me back to the basics of the meaning of words. I mean, you can look for the meaning of words in Twitter, but I mean, come on. But yeah, that's what I'm reading now.
Awesome. I need to check out Seamus.
Oh, he's
good.
wonderful.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank
joining
you.
us today. Thank you for being our keynote speaker. We so appreciate you.